60 yards of frozen, churned earth is all that separates the line of frostbitten American infantry from the jagged tree line of the Ardennes. The air is thick with the smell of sulfur and wet wool. Across that gap, a veteran unit of German Panzer Grenadiers waits behind the terrifying high-pitched buzz of an MG-42. They are disciplined, they are dug in, and they believe the winter and the woods belong to them. They believe that their superior individual martial tradition will break the resolve of the boys from the American Midwest. But they are not facing a collection of individuals. They are facing the final, lethal output of a continental assembly line. A private stands in a shallow, half-frozen foxhole. Ice crystals cling to the stubble on his chin. His name is Jack, though he represents any of the millions of men funneled through the induction centers of 1944. Behind him and across the ocean is a nation that has turned the very concept of the factory into a weapon of war. The Germans see a clearing. Jack sees a tactical problem that has already been solved by the engineers in Detroit and the ballisticians in Maryland. What happens in the next 20 minutes will demonstrate why the United States military became an unstoppable industrial force. They utilize a three-part system designed to outproduce, outmove, and overwhelm. Jack raises his primary weapon. It is the M1 Garand. At first glance, it is a sturdy assembly of walnut and parkerized steel, weighing nearly 10 pounds. Yet this rifle is the foundation of the American infantry's superiority. While the German soldier across the field must manually work a bolt-action handle after every single shot, disturbing his aim and slowing his rate of fire, Jack's weapon is semi-automatic. It uses the very gases of the previous explosion to chamber the next round. The sergeant, a man who has survived from the beaches of Sicily to the hedgerows of France, judges the distance. He knows the suppressive power of his squad. The enemy is fixed. The command is given. Fire at will. Jack pulls the rifle into the pocket of his shoulder, his cheek pressed tight against the wood. He doesn't have to think about the mechanics of the bolt. He simply aligns the front blade in the rear peep sight and squeezes. The Garand bark is sharp and rhythmic. 8 rounds are discharged in seconds. The genius of this first stage lies in volume of fire. In an American squad, 12 men can produce a wall of lead that makes it physically impossible for the enemy to return accurate fire. As Jack fires his 8th round, the empty steel clip is automatically ejected with a distinct metallic ping. He doesn't hesitate. His hand moves to his cartridge belt, a piece of standardized web gear where every pouch is located in the exact same position as every other soldier in the United States Army. He pulls a fresh en-bloc clip and slams it downward into the receiver. The bolt snaps forward. This is the disruption phase. By maintaining a constant high rate of fire, Jack and his squad fix the German defenders in their holes. They cannot move. They cannot coordinate. They are suppressed by the sheer weight of American industrial output. All along the line, the sound of semi-automatic fire creates a continuous roar. It is the sound of a nation that produces 20 billion rounds of ammunition a year. Jack isn't worried about running out. Behind him, parked in the snow-covered trails, are the deuce-and-a-half 2.5-ton trucks. These are the mechanical horses of the American machine. While the German army still relies on millions of horses to pull their supply wagons, Jack is backed by a fully motorized logistics tail. For every bullet Jack fires, 10 more are already moving forward from the ports of Cherbourg on a non-stop convoy. But the rifle is only the beginning. The second stage of the system is the integration of mobile steel. Jack hears the grinding of metal tracks and the high-pitched whine of a radial engine. Emerging from the tree line is the M4 Sherman tank. It is not a superweapon. It does not have the thickest armor or the largest gun on the battlefield. Its secret weapon is standardization. Because every Sherman is built with interchangeable parts, Jack's unit knows that even if this tank is damaged, it can be repaired in hours using parts scavenged from another. Jack moves forward, keeping his body positioned behind the rumbling hull of the Sherman. The tank acts as a mobile shield, a wall of steel that allows the infantry to cross the kill zone of the open road. The German anti-tank gunners try to traverse their weapon, but they are hampered by the constant pinging of Jack's Garand against their gun shield. The tank and the infantry are a single coordinated unit. The Sherman provides the block, absorbing the small arms fire that would otherwise shred the infantry, while its 75mm gun delivers high-explosive shells into the German bunkers. Jack reaches the edge of the German trench. The distance is now measured in feet. He reaches for a Mark II fragmentation grenade, the Pineapple. He pulls the safety pin and holds the lever. This is the kill phase. He tosses the grenade into the darkened entrance of a timber-reinforced dugout. The explosion is contained, a sharp thud that sends a cloud of dust and splinters into the air. This grenade was manufactured by a company that made refrigerators 3 years ago. Its fuse is timed to a fraction of a second, a result of the same quality control used in the automotive industry. As the smoke clears, Jack doesn't stop to celebrate. A whistle blows, 3 short blasts. On instinct, Jack and his squad move to the side, taking up defensive positions, while a fresh squad from the 2nd platoon moves past them to continue the assault. This is the American replacement system. Because every man is trained in the same doctrine, with the same standardized equipment, the pressure on the German line never ceases. It is a relentless rotating cycle of fresh troops and fresh ammunition. The German defenders, who have been in the line for weeks without relief, simply cannot match the endurance of the American machine. Jack sits back against a tree, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He pulls a chocolate bar from his pocket, part of his K-ration. It is a small detail, but it represents the logistics of the individual. He is warm, he is fed, and his equipment has functioned perfectly because it was designed for mass production and ease of use. He looks at the man next to him, a replacement who arrived only yesterday. The man is holding the same M1 Garand, wearing the same M1 steel helmet, and carrying the same sense of quiet confidence. They are replaceable components in a vast winning system. The fire and movement doctrine practiced by Jack's platoon is more than just a tactic. It is an industrial process applied to the battlefield. As Jack huddles behind the churning treads of the Sherman tank, he is witnessing the 3rd stage of the system, the total integration of fire support. In the American machine, the infantryman is not expected to win the battle alone. He is the sensor at the end of a vast network. When Jack's squad leader spots a reinforced concrete pillbox that the tank's 75mm gun cannot immediately crack, he doesn't call for a suicidal charge. He reaches for a handheld SCR-536 handy-talkie radio. This device, manufactured by the millions in plants that once made home radios, is the central nervous system of the American war machine. Within seconds, Jack's squad leader is speaking directly to a battery of 105mm howitzers positioned 3 miles to the rear. The German defenders, huddled in their bunkers, have spent years perfecting their defensive positions. They believe the earth and concrete will protect them. They are wrong. They are not fighting a squad. They are fighting the coordinated math of an entire division's artillery. The air begins to scream. It is a sound Jack has learned to love, the steel rain. In less than 90 seconds from the radio call, the first shells impact. The American artillery system is unique because of its speed and its time-on-target capability. This is a mathematical secret weapon where multiple batteries fire at different intervals so that every shell from every gun hits the target at the exact same microsecond. The German pillbox doesn't just take damage, it is erased in a single cataclysmic eruption of fire and earth. As the dust from the artillery barrage settles, Jack moves. He doesn't need a direct order because the standard operating procedure is ingrained in his mind through months of repetitive training in the States. He knows that the moment the barrage lifts, the enemy will be stunned. This is the OODA loop of the 1940s: observe, orient, decide, act. The American system is designed to move through this loop faster than any opponent. Jack enters the German trench line. Here, the M1 Garand's length can be a liability, but the American machine has a solution for this too. Slung over the shoulder of the squad's assistant leader is the M1 carbine, a smaller, lighter weapon designed for the tight confines of a bunker or a command post. Every tool in the squad is specialized yet standardized. Jack uses his bayonet to clear a snag of wire, a piece of high-carbon steel that is identical to the one carried by every Marine on Guadalcanal. The German survivors begin to emerge from the ruins, their hands raised. They look at Jack with a mixture of terror and confusion. They are wearing mismatched uniforms, scavenging boots from the dead, and carrying rifles made in 3 different occupied countries. Jack looks down at his own boots. They are the Type 3 roughouts, waterproofed and sturdy. Even his socks are part of the system, mass-produced wool-cotton blends designed to prevent trench foot. This is the standardization of the human. Jack is a replacement, but he fits into the squad perfectly because the squad is a template. If the squad leader falls, the corporal takes over. If the corporal falls, Jack knows exactly what the objective is. The American Army doesn't rely on the genius of a single commander. It relies on the systematic training of every man to understand the intent of the commander. Suddenly, the ground shakes again, but this time it isn't artillery. It is a flight of P-47 Thunderbolts screaming overhead at treetop level. These jugs are the flying extension of the factory floor. They are armed with 8.50 caliber machine guns and racks of rockets. Jack watches as they dive on a retreating German convoy a mile away. The pilots are using the same standardized radio frequencies to talk to the forward air controller riding in a jeep near Jack's position. This is total war as a synchronized symphony. The factory in Michigan made the truck, the factory in Connecticut made the radio, the factory in New York made the aircraft, and the training camp in Georgia made the soldier. All of these components have arrived at this exact coordinate in the Ardennes at the exact same time to create a steel hurricane that no amount of individual bravery can withstand. Jack wipes the sweat and condensation from his brow. The adrenaline is fading, replaced by a deep bone-weary exhaustion. But the machine does not sleep. Even as Jack's platoon secures the objective, the engineers are already moving up. These men carry specialized equipment, bulldozers, minesweepers, and portable Bailey bridges. Within an hour, they will have cleared the road and bypassed the blown bridge that the Germans thought would stall the American advance for days. The engineers represent the infrastructure of victory. They don't just fight, they build. They turn a muddy trail into a highway for the Red Ball Express. As Jack watches a D7 bulldozer push a wrecked Panzer out of the way, he realizes that the German army's greatest mistake was thinking this was a game of soldiers. It was a game of tons per day. The sun begins to dip below the jagged tree line, casting long bruised shadows over the snow. Jack finds a dry spot and begins his maintenance of the machine. He disassembles his Garand, cleaning the carbon from the gas cylinder. He knows that his life depends on this mechanical cycle. He reaches into his pack and finds a small tin of rifle grease. It is the same grease used in every theater of the war, from the deserts of North Africa to the mountains of Italy. This consistency is the ultimate secret weapon. Whether he is fighting in a jungle or a forest, Jack knows his equipment will work, his ammo will fit, and his reinforcements will arrive. He is not alone. He is the tip of an industrial iceberg that stretches all the way back to the Great Lakes. While the infantry and armor advance, the true scale of the American war machine is felt in the silence of the night, in the hidden gears of the replacement system. Jack rests in a cellar, but he is not the same man who landed in Normandy months ago. The machine acknowledges the friction of war. It knows that men break, that equipment fails, and that steel eventually bends. To counter this, the United States turned human management into an exact science. Every casualty Jack sees is reported up a chain of command that moves at the speed of electricity. In a processing center in England, a name is pulled from a list. A new soldier, trained in the exact same manual as Jack, is issued the exact same kit. Within 48 hours, that replacement is standing in the same foxhole, holding the same rifle, and understanding the same hand signals. This is the interchangeable soldier. The German army relies on elite units built around charismatic leaders. When the leader dies, the unit dissolves. But Jack's squad is a template. It is designed to be indestructible because its parts are replaceable. This philosophy extends to the very diet that keeps Jack in the fight. He opens a sea ration can. It isn't a gourmet meal, but it is a miracle of industrial chemistry. Every can contains a precise balance of calories, vitamins, and minerals, sealed in a standardized tin that can survive being dropped from a plane or submerged in a swamp. While the opposing soldiers scavenge for frozen potatoes in the cellars of local farms, Jack is fueled by a caloric intake calculated by scientists in Chicago. This is the biological logistics of the machine. Even the coffee is instant, a powder that only requires hot water to provide the caffeine needed for a night watch. As the sun begins to rise over the shattered pines, a new sound joins the chorus of the front. It is the rhythmic thud of a M2 Ma Deuce .50 caliber machine gun. This weapon is the heavy iron of the American system. Designed during the previous war but perfected for this one, the .50 caliber is a masterpiece of over-engineering. It is too heavy for one man to carry, but in the American motorized army, it is mounted on every jeep, every truck, and every tank. This creates a saturation of fire that changes the nature of the defense. Jack watches a trio of German scout cars attempt to probe the flank. In any other army, the infantry would have to wait for an anti-tank gun to be brought up. But Jack's unit simply lets loose with the Ma Deuce. The heavy slugs tear through the light armor of the scout cars like paper. The .50 caliber is the great leveler. It is the reason the American machine is never truly defenseless. Every vehicle is a weapon platform. Jack looks at the sky. The clouds are breaking, and he knows what that means. The air-ground link is about to be restored. In the American system, the ground and the air are not separate branches. They are two hands of the same body. He watches a jeep pull up. It is equipped with a high-gain antenna. This is a tactical air control party. They are the eyes of the fighter bombers. The Germans have spent the night trying to move their heavy Tiger tanks into position under the cover of darkness. They believe their superior armor will win the day, but as the sun hits the valley, the P-47s return. They don't have to engage the Tigers in a tank duel. They simply drop 500-pound bombs manufactured in a factory that was making steam whistles 2 years ago. The Tigers are silenced. The Steel Hurricane does not care about the thickness of a tank's front plate. It simply bypasses it from the air. This is the total integration of the machine. The infantry fixes the enemy, the armor blocks their escape, the artillery shatters their resolve, and the air power erases their presence. Jack picks up his Garand. He feels the cold steel of the receiver. He isn't a hero in an epic poem, he's a technician of violence. He checks his watch, a standardized timepiece issued by the thousands, and prepares for the next bound. The order comes down the line. It isn't a complex strategic maneuver, it is a simple coordinate. The machine is moving again. Jack steps out of the cellar and into the bright, freezing morning. He can hear the trucks behind him, the tanks beside him, and the planes above him. He is the point of a spear that is 3,000 miles long. The relentless push of the American machine is not just measured in miles, but in the staggering volume of tonnage delivered to the edge of the blade. As Jack's unit pauses to regroup, they are met by the Red Ball Express, a non-stop conveyor belt of trucks that stretches from the deep-water ports of France to the mud of the front lines. This is the fourth stage of the system, the logistics of overwhelming abundance. While the enemy command struggles to move a single battalion of tanks due to fuel shortages, Jack watches as thousands of gallons of gasoline are pumped from standardized jerry cans into the Sherman tanks. These cans, based on a captured design but mass-produced by the millions in American stamping plants, are the lifeblood of the advance. They allow the machine to remain mobile, ensuring that the Steel Hurricane never has to stall for lack of fuel. Jack looks at the manning of these convoys. Thousands of drivers, many of whom were mechanics and laborers only months ago, work in shifts to ensure the supplies never stop. In the American system, the truck driver is as essential to the kill phase as the rifleman. Without the constant flow of 5,000-ton Liberty ships crossing the Atlantic, Jack's Garand would be a club and the Sherman would be a stationary metal box. This is total industrial integration, where the victory is won on the drafting boards of engineers long before the first shot is fired. The psychological weight of this abundance begins to crush the opposing will. Captured officers look at Jack's equipment with a sense of disbelief. They see that every American soldier is issued a high-quality, waterproof wristwatch. They see that every squad has its own radio. They see that even the lowest private has access to fresh fruit and cigarettes. They realize they are not fighting an army that is making sacrifices. They are fighting an army that has made war an extension of its industrial prosperity. Jack is ordered to move into a heavily forested sector. The terrain is a nightmare of ravines and thick undergrowth, the kind of place where a traditional army would be bogged down for weeks. But the American machine brings the power of the earth mover. Behind Jack's squad come the combat engineers with armored D7 bulldozers. They don't just find paths, they create them. They level the forest, fill the ravines, and lay down Hessian matting to turn a swamp into a road in a matter of hours. This engineering prowess is the secret shield of the American advance. It allows Jack's unit to appear in places the enemy deemed impassable. When a bridge is blown, the engineers don't just wait for a repair. They slide a Bailey bridge, a standardized prefabricated steel truss system, across the gap. It is like a giant construction toy for adults, and it allows the tanks to cross before the dust of the explosion has even settled. As Jack moves deeper into the sector, he encounters the saturation of specialization. In his platoon, there are men designated specifically as bazooka teams. The M1 bazooka is a simple steel tube that fires a shape-charged rocket, a product of high-level physics made simple enough for a farm boy to operate. It gives Jack's squad the power to destroy a heavy tank at close range, effectively turning every infantryman into a potential tank killer. This is the democratization of firepower. The machine does not rely on a few elite tank hunters. It gives the power of the heavy gun to the individual soldier. Jack watches as a bazooka team maneuvers to the flank of a stubborn German bunker. One flash, one roar, and the obstacle is gone. The system has provided a specific tool for every specific problem. Night falls again, but the machine's eyes remain open. Jack's unit utilizes M1 carbines equipped with the first generation of infrared night sights, the snooper scope. It is a primitive, heavy piece of electronics, but it represents the American commitment to technological overmatch. While the enemy stumbles in the dark, the American machine is beginning to see. Jack settles into a temporary command post. He can hear the constant clatter of typewriters and the hum of portable generators. Even here, at the very edge of the war, the bureaucracy of the machine is at work. They are tracking every bullet fired, every gallon of fuel spent, and every man lost. This data is fed back to the factories in Detroit and the planners in Washington, allowing the machine to self-correct in real time. If Jack's boots are wearing out too fast in the snow, the next shipment will have a reinforced sole. He takes a moment to clean his glasses, a standardized pair of P3 frames issued by the Army. He realizes that every single thing he touches, from his rifle to his rations to his spectacles, is a testament to a system that refuses to accept the limitations of the past. He is the operator of a Continental engine, and that engine is currently redlining toward the heart of Europe. As Jack checks his watch, he is not just looking at a timepiece, he is observing the heartbeat of an empire. This is the final stage of the American machine, the cumulative collapse of the enemy. In the American system, victory is not a single event, but a mathematical certainty achieved through the exhaustion of the opponent. Jack stands on a ridge and looks toward the horizon. He sees the air-ground-sea triad in perfect harmony. In the distance, the heavy bombers, B-17S and B-24S, cross the sky in formations so large they cast shadows over entire provinces. These flying fortresses are the ultimate extension of the assembly line, carrying the destruction of the factory directly to the enemy's heartland. The German soldier Jack faced in the woods is no longer fighting an army, he is fighting a global industrial process. While that soldier's hometown is being leveled by 4-engine bombers, his supply lines are being severed by P-47s, His forward positions are being pulverized by 105mm howitzers, and his foxhole is being overrun by Jack's squad. The American machine does not give the enemy the luxury of a fair fight. It uses every technological and logistical advantage to ensure that the struggle is as one-sided as possible. Jack's platoon sergeant blows a whistle. It is time for the final push into the village below. As Jack descends the slope, he notices the civil affairs units and military government jeeps already waiting in the rear. The machine is so efficient that it is prepared to manage the peace before the battle is even finished. They carry standardized leaflets, medical supplies for civilians, and a blueprint for reconstruction. This is the macro vision. The United States is not just destroying an old world, it is prefabricating a new one. The village is taken with a precision that would be impossible without the standardization of doctrine. Every man knows his lane, every tank knows its sector. The resistance is fierce but brief, muffled by the overwhelming application of specialized firepower. When a sniper fires from a church steeple, Jack doesn't have to risk his life in a daring climb. A radio call brings a M16 half-track, equipped with 4.50 caliber machine guns known as the meat chopper, which clears the steeple in a matter of seconds. As the smoke clears, Jack stands in the village square. He leans against his M1 Garand, the walnut stock scarred, but the action still smooth. He realizes that he is a survivor of the most complex logistical feat in the history of the human race. He was fed by the Midwest, armed by the Northeast, transported by the South, and directed by a system that valued his life enough to provide him with the best tools steel could buy. The steel hurricane has passed through this valley, and in its wake, the landscape is changed forever. The American war machine succeeded not because of a single secret weapon, but through the integration of every weapon into a single, standardized, and unstoppable organism. The semi-automatic rifle suppressed the enemy, the Sherman tank provided the mobile shield, and the industrial might of a nation across the sea ensured the pressure never faltered. Jack plants his boots in the churned earth and exhales a cloud of steam into the cold air. The war is not over, but the outcome is no longer in doubt. Behind him, the trucks are already rolling forward with more ammo, more fuel, and more men. The machine does not stop. It only accelerates. Jack secures his helmet, adjusts his pack, and steps back into the column. Tomorrow, the factory moves another 30 miles closer to the heart of the enemy. If you found this journey into the relentless engine of the American war machine compelling, and you want to see more deep dives into the secret weapons that built and broke empires, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Join us as we continue to uncover the machines of history.